Would you answer that question? How are you feeling? Are you feeling confident about the economy?
I love Ontario, and I think Ontario has a resilience to it that is greater than other parts of Canada or other parts of the United States. I think that's because of the people that are here. What I'm feeling about the economy today is that the economy is not nearly as strong as it could be if it had been managed better. I think we're headed in for a downturn. I don't know if we'll hit the recession. We had some very minor growth in the last quarter of 07. We've had a couple of negative, very minor negative growth periods.
But the growth is level. Yeah. It's flat. And when the Americans go into an economic downturn, Canada goes in with it.
Well, they're the elephant, aren't they?
And they're the elephant, and we're sleeping with that elephant. It's a dangerous place to be. Yeah. But they're having an economic downturn, and that's going to affect us tremendously when we export 85% of the cars that we manufacture in this province to the United States, when we export most of our commodities to the United States. We're going to have some serious difficulty. I would rather not be a grasshopper. I'd rather be the ant who stores up food for the winter. Yeah. And I think that we're coming into a difficult period. Ontario has the highest business taxes in the known world outside of the United States. The very highest business taxes. I mean, capital has wings, and it goes to where it can make the most money. And if you're going to be taxed out of your business in Ontario, you're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but you're not going to tell me that by cutting those taxes in Ontario, you're going to fix everything. Yeah,
you're saying that's exactly what I'm telling you.
That's exactly what you're going to say.
You're not going to fix it.
So you're in the Jim Flaherty School of Economics here.
You can't snap your fingers and make it happen. Yeah. There are huge lag times in any economy.
Of course.
And when McGuinty started raising taxes 5 years ago, business taxes and personal income taxes, the die was cast. And it takes a long time for that to have an effect, a negative effect on the economy, and it will take a long time to turn it around again.
Are we as tied to the American economy as we once were a number of years ago, or are we starting...
Same.
You think it's the same?
76% of our exports go to the United States. Yeah. 33% of our GDP is what we export. 33% of everything we produce, we export in this country. A comparative figure in the United States would be 2% of what they produce, they export. Of course, they're a consuming economy. So we're desperately aligned with exports.
Just as much as we have ever been. Would you agree with that,
I think
Peter?
The numbers are about the same.
Yeah.
Oshawa lost 900 jobs, last week, and along with Campbell Soups, closing a long-established plant in Listowel for 400
Those are the frightening ones, because those things have been around for a long time. In Listowel, that's a big deal.
Quebec Ore in Etobicoke, 320 people in a printing plant gone, and those aren't coming back in a hurry.
Yeah.
Well, in the 70s, we had a dollar. It was $1.07 against the United States, and we had a strong manufacturing sector, and we also had a very good tax base, and we had a government that understood how to attract business in this province, and we don't have that today.
Does it speak to the whole issue of productivity in Canada? I mean, the fact is, if Canada had a higher productivity levels in so many different sectors, we wouldn't have this problem as much anyway.
It's a factor of investment capital, and it's only just in the last year that the government has canceled or is in the process of phasing out capital tax on equipment. Yeah. And if we can make it attractive enough for people to buy equipment, that increases productivity tremendously. In fact, that's about the only way that you can increase productivity in the long term is through capital investment.
Yeah.
To have a dialogue about that, and I think that's going to be one of your quick fixes you're looking for.
Infrastructure problem per se, but isn't infrastructure or lack thereof, or roads that needed to be built, or highways that needed to be enlarged, or transit systems that needed to be expanded, that contributes to gridlock in the city, the same gridlock that carries a huge price tag in terms of
look at the industrial base of Toronto, which has moved out into the suburbs because they can't get their raw products in a timely fashion, and they can't ship their finished products out in a timely fashion because of gridlock. Yeah. And so gridlock is a huge issue that
well, it's very expensive, isn't it?
It's a huge issue. We can never build enough roads to satisfy the needs of people. California tried, and they haven't been able to do it. I think we have to focus on our transit systems and move ahead in that area. Carol made an interesting point that the Board of Trade found that the tax reductions in education taxes was extremely helpful.
Business, yeah.
And I think that's an insight into how important tax levels are to businesses and how it helps attract them, and how it helps them survive.
To the point where they're looking for more of the same.
During very difficult times, it helps them to survive. Ontario has always been the economic engine of Canada, and you know, we're getting perilously close to being the caboose. Certainly,
we've been. They discontinued the
cabooses. We don't want to discontinue Ontario.
No,
but obviously the economic situation in Ontario was very sad when we get down into being the last place in this province, last place in growth, last place in economic opportunities and development. People leaving the province in hordes, going to other jurisdictions that have better opportunities. Those are sad days for Ontario, and those are created. The rest of Canada is doing fine. It's Ontario that's hurting, and that's a reflection of the management of this province. And it's a sad day when this province gets this close to a critical indicator like a have-not province.